Being around, you meet, just being around here, you definitely meet the two of them. That's cool.
Welcome to Three Thoughts On. Thank you everybody that's online. Thank you all of you that are always here with me. We appreciate you making the time to be here live. Today we have a special guest, a good friend, Justin Driscoll. Justin, how are you today?
Great. Good to be here, and thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Justin and I have known each other for a couple of years, at least 2-3 years now, since when I got here to Lake Nona. He has what I believe is an interesting story with some interesting nuggets to share with all of you. So why don't you give us a quick introduction on who you are and how did you end up doing this fun stuff you're doing now?
Yeah, no, appreciate the introduction. I mean, quick one on me. Florida raised, Orlando raised. Grew up here my entire life. Was lucky enough to go to Rollins College in Winter Park. Had the opportunity to play baseball for 5 years, and my journey started my third year when I realized the sport was. I outgrew the sport. Blessed by the opportunity to play as long as I did, but realized a lot of people were a lot better than me at baseball. That I started to take the same addiction that I had for the sport that I gave my life to into the business world. So I started working in the startup space. Specifically in the youth sports industry. I worked for a family office that was acquiring tournaments, camps, and showcases, specifically in baseball and softball. It was a very profitable strategy, cash flowing, that then they took an ancillary parallel thesis to building a technology business around that, which then was the first exposure for me into the startup world. Very unique because there was a single funder. Most businesses have many investors. But I definitely got the opportunity in a very short window to refine my skills, but also completely learn that the startup game was for me. The corporate game was too big, too slow, too confusing for what I thought the world pace should be. Fell in love with technology, and again, right place, right time. Had a very unique serendipitous moment to join Lead at the very early days when they partnered with Lake Nona to come to the city. And be a very early contributor to exactly what we built to today. So I've been with Lead now 4.5 years, joined as the first U.S. employee, joining the investment team of a venture capital firm by the name of Lead. I could get deeper into that later in the conversation. But now my day job is I'm a VC investor. I source companies, I meet founders on a daily basis. We diligence opportunities, understand the market trends, understand the business models, the exit opportunities, and most importantly, and the thing that is the fuel to my daily life is working with the founders we invest in. Vicariously get to understand the challenges that they face day to day, and do that across obviously not just one company but 30. It's quite a stimulating job for sure, but that brings me to where I am today.
All before the age of
25.
That is great. I know I was talking to somebody the other day how different. I mean, as you know, I'm 53, and when I was, your age, at least where I grew up, the inspiration was to go to college, multiple degrees, work for a big company, and then just ride in the sunset somehow, right? But I feel like today, more and more parents, and maybe even the community itself is fostering and promoting
Totally.
young people to take the path that you took, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, it's a lot fast-paced path. Sometimes it feels maybe a little bit less secure. Corporate America,
Totally.
well, at least there was a time when corporate America felt more secure. Maybe not so much these days, but it is definitely something that keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think the euphemism in our generation blinds us to certain things that maybe aren't what we've experienced in our short lives, but I think it brings a different level of energy to both the corporate world, but also the entrepreneurial space. That there's just unbelievable stories like, Joe DeSena and I were speaking about this the other day, just around these crazy 18-year-olds building AI apps from their basement, dropping out of college, dropping out of high school at the very least, and scaling things with team sizes of less than 2 people. And I think this is something we've never seen before. I think it's a testament to technology, but also to your point, I think it's a component of just the culture that parents are bringing to our generation, and also the personalities that are in the Gen Z, and even looking downwards, that come up of the alphas as well. So yeah.
So walk us through the path of LEAD. When I came here 5 years ago, and then I found about LEAD maybe 4 years ago, right around the time when you started. It was a different company in a sense than it is today.
Yeah.
If you can walk us through for people who don't know, there's actually a lot of people, you guys used to be in this building and now you're across the street.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first got access here, people would be like, what are you guys doing there? Because of course the doors are always locked, but there's windows everywhere and people are looking to see.
Peeking in.
Yeah, what's going on in there, the most secret ops. So walk us through the story of LEAD when you got involved here as part of the North America team, team of one at the time, right, was just you,
totally.
and how that has evolved to what it is today.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a phenomenal story, but I think the beauty of the message is the consistency of what we do is we attempt to support founders, and that goes back to predating me from the very early days when this company started in Berlin, Germany. So I'll start there and work my way to where we are today. I mean, 2017, the Adi Dassler International Family Office, the Benti family, came together and questioned the promotion of their grandfather's entrepreneurial identity in the industry. He built an incredible brand that the world knows in Adidas, and really wanted to find a way to leave a legacy to the entrepreneur community of, what would he be doing if he was still alive today? And alongside our CEO, Christoph, they answered a very simple question with he'd want to back the next generation of entrepreneurs to build global brands the way he did at Adidas. And in 2017, the family came together with many other shareholders and stakeholder constituents and launched a first-of-kind sports tech pre-seed stage accelerator program based in Berlin. For about 3 years, operated multiple cohorts of businesses that were invested by LEAD, brought to an in-person experience, a program, a boot camp, where they got access to mentorship, operational support, commercial introductions, investor introductions, the things a typical early stage entrepreneur is striving for. And over time, that accelerator program ran into the similar challenge that the world did in the year 2020, which was COVID. And through partnership and many relationships with a group by the name of Tavistock, I had the blessed opportunity to bring what we were doing in Germany here to America in this home called Lake Nona to replicate exactly that accelerator program, not just in the world of sports, but also what the city had to offer, which was health. And we felt culturally zeitgeist motivated that these two worlds were colliding. The things that touched an athlete are now touching the mass consumer. And that brought us here into Lake Nona, and our first product, I would say, as an investment vehicle, was the accelerator program. That was the thing. We brought 6 companies into this unbelievable city every year, ranging from tennis companies to fitness companies to health tech companies that would spend time through exactly that accelerator program. But over the course of our journey at a firm, massive growth ambitions, maximizing the opportunity set that was considered the growth of two unbelievable industries of sports and health, we didn't want to just stop at investing at the pre-seed stage. So over the course of 2018 to now 2024, we've positioned ourselves as a global institutional family of funds, investing with multiple pools of capital from pre-seed to growth stage. So in the form factor of an accelerator, we now just define it as an investment vehicle where we commit to supporting the businesses at the pre-seed stage in the same way we did since day one, and what we intended to do here in Lake Nona and still do. But have multiple pools of capital called the Lake Nona Fund, who in one of your previous podcasts, my colleague Thomas Rudy, who oversees the seed stage $30 million sports and health tech fund inside the ecosystem, is also an entity called Advantage. It's a $50 million Series A stage fund, and most recently a project that is near and dear to my heart and my relationship and exposure to athletes. We launched an entity called Locker Room. It's in a kind of more of a stage agnostic but biased to growth stage investment vehicle alongside the CEO Brian Thompson and stakeholders like John Voigtman, one of our board members that lead a project that would invest in similar sports and health tech things, but allow us to get into adjacent categories that an athlete was most excited about. And those can look like he or she's interest in CPG, beverage, alcohol, spirits, media. The shirt I wear today is one of our portfolio companies, a women's sports media brand by the name of Together. And these are all exciting things. Again, how we've positioned ourselves from the early days back to what the Bentees set out to do, leaving a legacy to their grandfather, to back the next generation of entrepreneurs with a pre-seed stage vehicle, to doing this now across stages. So you fast forward to now, again, now May 2025, we have 60 plus portfolio companies ranging from women's health, postpartum, to fan engagement, sports betting, self-checkout AI, sleep tech. We've really covered the trends of these two sectors, but have totally evolved how we perceive the world. And it's all rooted in the trends. We believe the trends are at the forefront of our business. And we aspire to find the founders and entrepreneurs that build in each one of those specific trends.
So let's talk about that, because that's exactly where I wanted to go. Thank you for that background. When I came here, the model was, mainly as an accelerator, right? Companies were coming through here, which I thought it was an interesting model because you invited these founders to move here to Lake Nona, right? And they will be living upstairs and working down here, having access to the mentors who I was invited to be a mentor, which was a great opportunity for me as well to work with some of those companies. And that also, although it came with great opportunities, and some of those companies have done very well, it also comes with some challenges. Trying to convince a founder to move from wherever they are into Lake Nona, Orlando, right? I mean, that there are some challenges with that.
Yeah.
And but you guys, learned from those, you adjusted, you pivoted. And I imagine that the profile of what you just said about you're looking for specific founders has now somewhat morphed into a different lens.
Yeah.
So what exactly is that you look for when you're evaluating these new companies so that they can become part of your portfolio?
Yeah, no, fantastic question. And obviously, in today's market conditions, in the same way we aspire to see our businesses that we work with adjust to how, certain things are happening on a macro level. I mean, we looked self-critically internally and had to reassess how our product and service was offered to the industry and recognize that some of those constraints held back the type of founder as a venture capitalist you're looking to back. That said, we still have the same level of commitment to leverage this incredibly unique city called Lake Nona, Advanced District, that has infrastructure from the USTA to the Lake Nona Performance Club and the Veterans Affair and every other corporate partner that's here that the technologies that we back, dependent on a pre-seed stage company or growth stage company, has the opportunity to leverage this living lab as a showcase of their technology. And the beauty thing for us is those case studies that we could speak on have not slowed down any bit from their ability, from a technology in the lost and found space, powering every hotel and gym here, to some of the more fitness-based technologies that are equipped inside the membership of every everyday Lake Nona citizen or outsider that comes in and uses the Performance Club. So I think that's a huge thing that we're still super proud of. From the profile of founder we look for, I think obviously the recruitment of the character is someone who has an earned secret in a category that they spend in, and that could look very, very different. And I think, calling back to some of the founders you even know from Source, two college students building in the sustainable textile space, to some of our more recent investments of a former chief global marketing officer of Fitbit, now building in the sleep tech category. They both have proved to us that they have an earned secret as to why we should invest in them. And the beauty of venture is the consistency isn't that the bias is to a serial entrepreneur. A solo founder, a first-time founder, has the same potential to earn a secret that allows them to justify why they build in the space. And that could mean many different things. That could be past corporate experience working in an industry, solving a pain point that they saw on the other hand and now attempt to build in this space. It could be, again, a youthful perspective and an entrepreneur seeing a lens on the consumer audience that wasn't done through corporate experience, but lived experience. And that's something that we hold very tight to how we diligence companies. Yes, there's market size. Yes, there's business model. Yes, there's revenue. But in the end of the day, we're in a people business. We're backing people. So the founders that we look for, we hold to very high criteria, because as you know, in the entrepreneur community, building is not easy. It is every single day you're punched in the stomach, someone telling you no, and it takes a certain level of craziness to pick up and keep going. So there's obviously certain biases that you have as a venture investor on personality that you're impressed by, or certain internal beliefs of what it takes to be an entrepreneur. But that's why we have an investment committee. That's why we have multiple team members that have the ability to filter through what it takes to build something great. And it all comes down to the person. So whether it's through an accelerator or a seed fund or a Series A fund or a growth fund, that same criteria or scoring process starts with team and then trickles to all the different other categories.
One of the things that I found, I still find interesting, I'm going to reference a company that you and I have discussed at length, a company that I really like and I would really hope to see them succeed, a company that has what I believe is a great product, a company that has a founder who I think speaks very well. I'm not going to mention them right now, I don't want to put them on the spot, but they struggled finding the money.
Yeah.
And what do you tell the listener? There's because we're asking a lot out of these founders, right? Not only you have to have all the things you mentioned, you have to have a great idea, you have to have the presence, you have to be able to have the ability to put something together and carry it to a certain stage. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, you got to be eloquent, and then you got to raise the funds, and then you got to. Okay, I mean, you need, there's not that many humans that can do all that, right? Yep. And then be able to present it to the people that have the money to invest.
Totally.
And part of the job that you used to do, probably still do, correct me there, is to see, well, if you guys can raise this much, then we'll come in with this amount, right?
Yeah.
And that one company, I know you know who I'm talking about, I love their product, tried it out, I think the world needs it, but somehow they couldn't get that extra chunk of money from other sources so that you guys could come in and support it, that is the name of the game, right? Look, so what do you tell those guys that have these great ideas?
No, it's, we'll keep the name anonymized, but from my perspective, you talk on something that I think is highly relevant, that founders have a lot on their plate. from exactly, managing a team culture, building a product, selling a product, raising capital, different stakeholders, partners. I think, we try to understand what a founder is asked to do, and a founder is selling. They're selling a story to attract an employee to join their company, quit their corporate day job that was probably paying them 2 times the amount to jump into the story. They're selling a customer to choose their product over a potential competitor. But then they're also selling investors a percentage in their company. And I think that is something can be done many different ways. Selling something can mean your ability to intellectually speak on something. It could be conceptually sell a vision that I think the fortunate or unfortunate reality of the game in technology, startups, and entrepreneurship is you need cash. There's different destinies to take. You could raise $500K, cash flow the business, bootstrap it to exit, or you raise multitude of sequential Series A to Series E fundraising rounds. And the unfortunate truth is you do need to attract the venture capitalist or private investor dollar. And I think in that example, you're spot on. I think both of us, and grateful for you actually making the introduction for the deal, believed in the problem set, thinking that the category was highly relevant and highly scalable, believing in the product as to where it was stood today, understood that their go-to-market strategy was not bulletproof, but like well thought out to say like this is worth a bet. And while we don't want like the KPI that like raising funds means that the business will succeed, because it's not a moment to reflect that a company is successful or not. But I think it was for us in that example a test to the founder that it is a necessary evil to raise capital, or it's a necessary enabler, and that's something that whether it was, hey, go raise $500K and we'll match it. I don't think it was about like feeling that the company needed necessary finances to scale the business. I think he could have done it with half the amount, but it was us testing his selling capabilities. And again, if he can't sell an investor, you question, can he sell a customer? Can he sell an employee to stay? And I think that goes a little bit deeper, but I believe that sometimes it's all timing as well,
Yeah, no, and that is the name of the game. I mean, in the corporate world, it's exactly the same game at a different scale. Yeah. You have your shareholders, and then you have big markets, and you have customers that are demanding all kinds of irrational things at times. And you have to kind of pick, what do you do? So you have to make those decisions, and you have to you're always selling, right? Always be closing, like the ABCs.
Yeah, and look, if I could jump in, like it's also just the pace in which this industry moves is we can't wait for a founder. That the opportunity to deploy into relevant technologies is, if it's not this one, it's going to be another one. And from an attention and a resource perspective, how fast the startup world moves. You have to stay on every single opportunity. And if something takes a little bit longer to transpire, you probably have moved on to the next shiny object or the next relevant opportunity. So there is a massive test on a venture capitalist to prioritize, also, better optimize where they spend their time, which for a generalist could be very different than what we consider ourselves a specialist by sector. The opportunity to invest in women's health could have been 2 years too early or 2 years too late, in the same way a sports betting sector could be. So for us, everything with how fast the trends move, we have certain windows to optimize an opportunity, and sometimes it's purely timingness that could have no representation on like a belief in a founder or not.
And they have to have a balance. Like, how do you, again, in having conversations with you over the years, I know that you have your metrics, you have your KPIs, and how you evaluate different companies, right? And there's always a balance between what we just discussed, what the founder can do versus what the product can do, right? And sometimes you have founders that are amazing at selling to anybody,
Yep.
You know people like that. I know people like that. Everybody here knows at least someone that can sell ice to an Eskimo, right? But then there may not be, the product may not be where
Yeah.
where you need it to be to hit the window that you're specifically talking about. So
Yep.
they can raise funds, but maybe they're not as good project managers, right?
Totally.
Maybe they're not as good, at actually doing minimum viable.
Yeah.
They want to, maybe the first version has to have way too many features, right?
Yeah.
All these different things. So how do you coach? Because founders, I found out, being a mentor, there were founders who were very open to talk to me as a mentor. They
Yep.
saw me on the webpage. I'm a mentor. I'm here to help. And there were others that didn't even give me the time of the day.
Yeah.
They don't want to. What are you going to teach me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, okay, fine. How do you
man.
balance that?
It's more of a human, emotional, intelligent trait than anything that's intellectually driven. I think you obviously, in a venture world, when you're on cap tables, you have every single example of that persona, from someone who's highly coachable, someone who's highly stubborn, and then everything in between. I think you just have to go down to the human level. Like, how do you interact with people and give them what they need when they need it? And I think these startups, you can see some here in the audience as well, that there's chapters of business, from recruitment of, again, capital to bring in, to then scaling, to product, to R&D, that I think everything's all about, giving and getting at the right time. And for us, an anecdote of that is sometimes people, you really strip down what a founder typically looks for in the VC market or from a venture investor. You hear the word value add very often. It comes down to two things. Typically a founder wants capital or customers. And for us, that shouldn't stop there, but everything else is then done with a level of style points to it that we think come down to your ability to know when, where, why, how. And for mentors, advisors, contributors to a startup success, I think it's very easy to get into a mindset that is, here's what I could give to a company, and expect that they want to receive that information to the extent that you want to give it. But many times you catch a founder on maybe a bad day and they're busy, or their head's completely on juggling a co-founder dynamic, that their head's not in the right space. Or they might be very intentional and say, hey, I'm in stealth mode. I'm not ready to have customer conversations. Or, hey, I have 3 voices on my team that are telling me about product. We're trying to keep it isolated for now. And I don't think that is good or bad in any example, but for us, it's such again, I come back to, it's a people business. And for us, you have to be very fluid, to the extent you're a chameleon. You know what to give and get and be in that certain moment. You take my function of a portfolio manager, I describe it as you're a shrink, you're a coach, you're a partner, you're an advisor on every other day. There's so many examples where on a Monday you're exactly that, you're a shrink. On Tuesday you're a coach. On Wednesday you're the boss. You're saying something that they don't want to hear, and you have to know the dynamic to then give them what they need, whether they know they need it or not. Yeah.
So, out of those personas, which one do you enjoy the most?
Oh man, depends on the day. Look, I think each dynamic, each persona has helped me in my young career also refine my own skills and how to manage each one. I enjoy riding shotgun with founders, so those that invite you into that car and follow the journey that is probably not a car but more of a roller coaster. I enjoy taking that seat. So a founder who's that level of humility, that not naive to the fact that I'm 25, I don't have 20 years of corporate experience to give to a founder in terms of here's what I've seen in past life. It's very simple for a founder to be like, you don't know what you're talking about, or you don't have enough experience to give an opinion. Well, I do. It's a different opinion, and I recognize my constraint, but I also don't pretend to not know something I don't know. And to me, that founder who can appreciate that perspective is coming from a point of, rooted rational. That's not, hey, I know what I'm talking about, but here's what I see. I find that to be a very, synergistic, verbal ping pong game I could play well. And that tends to be a more coachable or receptive founder to the one that's stubborn. But many times the best founders are stubborn. They question status quo. They relentlessly think the world's different than how everyone sees it. And I've learned if you back the right type that is that, you just let them go, in a positive way. There's mistakes, citing to any venture capitalist, and not just our portfolio. There's the stubborn founder that you let go, but then it didn't work, and that's a risk. But again, some of the craziest ideas come from people that don't want to hear or think they know how the world's envisioned and probably saw the world 5 years before anyone else. So we're not ignorant to the fact that profile of founder can still be a massive success for us. So this is where I catch myself back on certain decision-making biases that you just pulled out of me, that the type of founder that I enjoy working with or I think has high collaborative capabilities is someone I prefer to interact with, or I think my value can be best given to, but that doesn't mean that's the only founder that can make a business turn from a $10 million company to a $1 billion exit. So it's a bias that you as a VC have to always recognize, that the type of founder you want to work with or you look for isn't the carbon copy success story every time.
No, that's very well said. Very well said. And I do agree. You do know what you're talking about. So,
thank you. To the extent I know.
Yeah. Well, no. A lot of respect for you here. I want to know. So you mentioned in the beginning how Lead has pivoted, right? And now you have four very specific verticals.
Yep.
And what is fascinating to me is that they're actually very different.
Yeah.
And it gives you the opportunity as a company, or as a VC, I should say, to really dabble in areas that in the past you were not going to be able to dabble on. Mm-hmm. On one hand, you're dealing with professional athletes, which is an exciting thing. And then we're lucky to live in a community where we have some of those folks living here, right here in Lake Nona.
Yeah.
And that opens certain doors for certain things that you can bring to the portfolio. But the dynamics of that is completely different
Totally.
to the rest of the other three verticals.
Yep.
For what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, do you see those, even though they're verticals? Because, again, I've been an entrepreneur for a handful of years. I was in corporate America for 28 years. And in corporate America, you have companies that have verticals where those verticals don't never touch. Yeah. And in other companies where the verticals actually cross-pollinate.
Yep.
Where do you fit in that domain?
Much more the latter. We did this intentionally. This was not a sporadic or pivot. It was an intentional strategy behind how we saw the ability to unlock synergies across stages. And when you're in market long enough as a pre-seed stage investor, the quality of deal flow doesn't just stop at, hey, I have a company at the pre-seed stage. They're going to send you, hey, I have an interesting company. And that could be a growth stage company. And a typical VC fund has a mandate that is this. If it's here or here, in between it, it's our fit. If it's not, it's a pass. And what we wanted to build at Lead, for the number of years I've been here and predating me and everyone involved, from our board to our shareholders to the rest of my team and those that I have an unbelievable opportunity to work with, from the Berlin office to here in Lake Nona, is the synergies are exactly the thing that we always imagined. And that was, materialized in many different ways, from, the ability to have an analyst or an associate, an investment team member share information across stages. Where I give you an anecdote, there was an opportunity that our Series A team was working on. So I don't spend too much time at the Series A stage. I'm more the early stage. They were looking at an opportunity of a deal they got really excited about. And they came to us and said, hey, have you seen anything else in this space? And because the way we've built our technology internally, so our tech stack, we were able to, with a click of a button, play through our CRM and find the 4 other companies in that space that are early stage investment vertical, i.e. myself and the rest of the team had met before. And that information exchange allowed them to make a more data-driven decision on what they would do with this other opportunity. If we were just a traditionalist VC with one vertical, whether that was an accelerator or just a Series A fund, you would not get that information. And that's something that's really powerful to the extent of a case study of picking a company, or in a case where we have a seed stage business looking to fundraise, our Series A fund has the opportunity for 2 different things. One, to invest in the company, so you have multiple opportunities to back a company across stages, but also they have a Rolodex of Series A investors that they might be able to reach out to. So the synergies are exactly the name of the game, and we continue to refine and unlock those with time. But that is a very, very intentional thesis behind our company, is that we believe we're not just your traditional VC fund, but we built a platform that consists of multiple VC funds under one umbrella, and many other tentacles we haven't even gotten to today, but it's all under one platform, and it all comes back to this idea that the industry of sports and health tech has a chance to, as our tagline says, better human conditions and experiences through sports and health. And we believe that doesn't stop at the seed stage or pre-seed stage. That's way bigger than that. And our belief is what we're trying to accomplish is needing to transcend verticals and things as such. So yeah.
Well, and it all comes, what I like about what you guys are doing now. I mean, I like what you were doing before, but what I like about what you're doing now is on any given day you're doing that what you just said, right? Yeah. And helping pre-seed. Then next thing you know, you're with a company that is have some really cool health product. Yeah. Next thing you know, a company that is focused on women's sports, yeah. Right? Like your shirt. Yeah. And then the next day, you're down in South Florida in some event, yeah. For golf, yeah. Right? With Tiger Woods, right? And so you put there's a little bit of fun in there too with the new model, isn't there?
It's fun. Look, it's a fast-paced industry that comes with a lot of fun, but it is intense. It's a lot of work. It's fast-paced to the extent that I find it addictive to some extent, but it comes with fun perks because I work in a fun industry. So by personality, I don't think I would be VC for fintech or cybersecurity. While interesting verticals and there's a lot of money to be made, I wouldn't have that same passion-driven approach to how I believe I work. Personally, a pursuit of working in something I'm passionate about, and for a lot of people, though, that is sports and health, and it's very different. What health is doing for consumers on making patients healthier and extending lives is incredibly rewarding. To the same extent, what sports has the capability of doing, from community building across religion, language, sex, politics. It's something that there's not many other things in the world that can do that other than sports. So I think many people like yourself and myself find so much joy in these two industries.
Well, this is very interesting. What are you excited about? What do you see coming, not in the too far horizon, but more the near-term horizon?
Yeah. Look, no crystal ball here. If I did, I'd be way more successful and maybe making billions of dollars. But no one has the crystal ball. So from our perspective, we're incredibly reactive to not what we think is the future, but finding the best operators that are building in what they see as the future. So from my perspective, it's not a bet on a certain trend, which I could kind of give you a few pointers of ones that we're excited by. But stylistically, I think we're excited by entrepreneurs that can do a lot with a little. In a current macro environment where capital is incredibly hard to get, founders that can show us that they could triple revenue by keeping their team size flat, with the evidence-backed ability to use AI for sales funnel optimization or no-code solution to build the product from scratch. that's like stylistically something in the short term that we actually look for every founder to have some opinion on, is optimization from a resource perspective, efficiency. But in terms of certain verticals, I think we continuously believe in this concept of a clean label revolution. Food is medicine, something I know you know a lot about and have researched as a consumer as well as just operator. I think America is catching up to the rest of the world around the transparency of what's inside our food, whether that's done on a technology side or even a product side. We have a very close eye on this clean label revolution here in America. Youth sports remains a very highly relevant vertical for us. Youth sports is incredibly recession-proof. Kids will always be playing sports. Parents will always instill this activity inside their daily curriculum, and I think the industry is starting to mature. And continuously on the health side, this approach to preventative and reactive healthcare, I think we're continuously finding rabbit holes that there's so much more to be solved in an industry that obviously has many biases and many problems that seem so simple to solve, but still need some solving. So digital health and this approach of this next era of healthcare, which we believe is the token term, the medical consumer, the way someone can enter in and out of the healthcare system way more efficiently, is crazy to me. And I'll leave on an anecdote of a product I'm a consumer of is Whoop. They have an announcement tomorrow at 10 a.m., which, if I'm a betting man, which I don't have the crystal ball, is a company that's been in fitness their entire career and life cycle of their company. I think they're going to go medical. I think their ability to say a doctor should know what your 2 years of sleep data with a click of a button should enter the EMR system, so that when you walk into your doctor's appointment, they know how well you've slept or what your heart rate variability looks like. If you wanted to give that to your doctor today, it's really difficult to do, and I think in 2 years, maybe that looks really different. So that's a very specific medical healthcare thesis that we're starting to chase.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, thank you for your time, Justin. Where can people find more information about you and Lead?
Online, our website is lead.vc. If you're an entrepreneur, an investor, an operator, we are open ears to the craziest ideas possible, from partnership to investment to just relationship building. Our typical contacts are very easy to reach. LinkedIn is always a source of connection, and if I could give any point of confidence or referral, is find a warm introduction. Venture is a category. Yes, relationships are hard to come around, and not everyone in the world knows 5 billionaires to get funding from. But cold outreach is not the most optimal way of coming to us. So your ability to find someone who knows us or come to us in a very clever way is definitely much easier than just a blind outreach.
No, definitely. So hopefully, this is the second conversation with Lee. The first one was with Thomas.
Of course.
This one with you. Maybe in a year you can come back and give us an update.
Absolutely. Maybe Thomas and I come together. We're grateful to be here. I'll follow your journey amongst the podcasting space, bringing incredible thought leaders. And continuously contribute to what is Lake Nona. So, absolutely.
Thank you for being here, Justin. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Appreciate it.